Stream, I'm going to be talking about travel to Japan, but I wanted to take some of your questions because over the last several days, I've been getting more and more questions from everybody in the comment sections, and I thought I would just go live and we can do this together. Talk about what your plans are, where you want to go, some of the challenges that you have to plan your trip, whatnot. There's so many things that we can discuss. So for the next 30 minutes or so, I am here for you, and I'm also live on our Discord server, which the moderators will be putting the link right here, and you'll be able to jump in and talk to us live. We have a couple of moderators in there. It might be good if you can, in the chat, text your message to them, and then we'll pick you out of the audience. It's now populating pretty good. We have about 37, 40 people now ready to talk and listening on the Discord server, which is the place where we go when we have questions and whatnot. Behind me is the Japanese news program, and we'll be scouting that out for updates on the situation, what's going on around the country. And here we are. So let's get hopping here. Because this is a live stream, I will, in the chapter, if you're watching this in playback, put some of the questions in so you can just skip ahead to the ones that might be interesting or relevant to you. You don't have to listen to the whole thing unless you want to, which would be very dedicated. All right, let's get moving here. Question: what do you get prepared? Passport, shots, planes, etc. Ronald, are you asking me? When I travel abroad, I'm pretty much set. I've gotten all my vaccinations, not just for COVID, but for each region has certain issues that you have to consider. When I go to India, I believe I need a meningitis shot. I've had typhoid shots and then typhoid boosters. Which is, gosh, it's been such a long time. I believe it has something to do with drinking bad water and some food. So there's certain things that you should be consider before you travel. When you come to Japan, this is the only country in Asia, I believe, that you can drink water from the tap everywhere in the country and it's safe to drink. It's the only country in Asia, so you don't really need to have a lot of vaccinations and shots. To prepare for the trip to Japan, pack light. You can buy everything that you need here. The only thing for Westerners I would consider is the thing that's hard for me to buy is shirts, because my shoulders are too wide for the Japanese shirts, which are a little bit thinner for men, and shoes and socks, which are harder to get. But there are big and tall stores in the cities, so you can get that. There's no reason to overpack. You can get everything here. And the weather in the summer is hot, so you don't need as much stuff. The weather in the winter is cool, but not chilly, so a jacket should suffice. There you go. And did that help? Is Japan open to everyone? Writes in DID. No. Japan is open to business travelers and those that have family here. Right now, Japan requires a visa for everybody. This is August 2022. There's an online site now set up by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that you can apply for the visa, very similar to the way that a lot of other countries have been doing it. Japan used to be visa-free on entry for a wide range of countries, and I believe that it might go back to that in a few years, or in a couple of years, but they set up this website, I believe, for a reason. They want to know in advance who's coming into the country. I can't say it's a bad thing. It's just another step that makes it different than what it was like before this pandemic. I think a lot of countries have also amended the way that they do immigration, and because this is a new thing, this is one of the hurdles that Japan has to face before it reopens to everybody. How is this electronic visa program going right now? I don't even know, because it's still so really new. The mail has changed as well. For those of you that send packages to Japan and to other countries, there's a EAD, which is early, like AED maybe, or EAD, Advanced Early Registration Deployment. I don't know what it means, but you have to register now. When I send packages abroad, I have to register it online with Japan Post so that the recipient country knows that a package is coming. And you have to do that electronically, or else there's a growing list of countries that won't take it. So everything seems to be monitored in advance before you arrive, so that they can prepare for you and know who you are. So that the age of traveling on just a passport back in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s is over. and it seems like everything is going to be electronically controlled, and we can thank smartphones for that, and all of you for buying one, because everybody has one, just about. It's like 99.99%. Let's see here. While I was ranting here, we got a bunch of other questions here. Is lack of tourism killing small businesses? MT Watley writes in here. I think a lot of them are already gone. We've seen walking around Akihabara. We've seen walking around certain areas of the country. I've seen walking around outside of Japan in places where there used to be a tourism industry. Small mom and pop businesses are gone. A lot of them don't have a lot of overhead, so many of them could survive, but a lot of them that required simply foreign tourism went under. And in particular, a lot of hotels, a lot of shops selling souvenirs, especially geared towards foreign tourists, a lot of tour groups, a lot of attractions that were ninja, geisha, things that the domestic audience, including me, doesn't care about. I don't want to go see a ninja tour run out of someone's garage, although it's kind of a cool thing, especially in Japan, to go and see it, like a ninja participation tour. That's not something that I would be interested in. So the domestic audience for that is very small, to like jet teachers and foreign teachers coming here that are experiencing Japan for the first 3 months or something. No, there are no ninjas, okay? Why am I shouting? I'm very passionate about my garage tours, but everybody has a business idea and everybody starts from somewhere, and I think that, I'm not going to say don't go, but I'm not going to go. I heard that the governor of Hawaii, individual Hawaii residents can travel to Japan via Japan consulate request. I don't doubt that. I know that Japan is building back. This is what I've kind of get this feeling. It's not based on any kind of fact right now, but it's trying to build back, and this comes from a lot of you, the feedback I've been getting, building back relationships with areas of the world where there were a large amount of tourism back and forth, especially Japanese tourists going to that region. Guam and Hawaii are two places where Japanese love to go, and I can see why the government, especially tourist organizations in Japan, want to rebuild that relationship, because it's shattered, man. Think about it. Japanese have been traveling back and forth to the United States and everywhere else around the world, and then they've closed the borders here. It just is not cool, all right? And I'm on your side here. I'm not happy with the situation either, and they really need to do a lot more to build the relationships. And I believe like these little things, working with Hawaii and then finding a way to make tourism easier to get, because some of the best tourists that come here are Hawaiians, because they know so much more about Japanese culture, because there's so many Japanese tourists and Japanese Americans that are there. So it makes a lot of sense that you should try to find a way to work things out with them. Who are you writes in here. I'm back again. Let's have some fun with some giveaway. What? I can't wait for. I don't have any giveaways right now. Could we safely start planning for March 2023? Writes in Aiken. That's a great question, and this is the basis of what everybody is thinking and what is everybody's trying to plan for. You can't plan for a trip. You can't plan for a trip when you don't effectively, if you don't know if you're going to be able to make that trip. I got an email message via Instagram from somebody who watches the show saying that in Shinjuku, I'm sorry, I forgot the handle, and everything's on this phone here. In Shinjuku, their hotel reservation for October was canceled because the government told the hotel that, this is pretty big news. The government wrote that because there's uncertainty on whether or not tourism will be back, blah, 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 that they have to cancel the reservation made by a tourist from outside who's not on a package tour. This is for October. Take that with a grain of salt. That could be an isolated incident. I'm not really sure, but it happened to somebody who watches this show. They sent me the email message from the hotel, and I was a little bit shocked by that. I don't know what the next step is going to be, and I don't think the government knows either. So this makes planning the trip very hard. So it's hard for me to say yes or no, and it would be irresponsible to say get your tickets and be ready for March. But I think my feeling is that all indications are that the country will open in October, or at least take the next step. I don't know what that next step is. Logically, it can't be tours anymore because nobody wants to do it except for a very select few people. It's just making people upset that, like, people with a lot of money can afford these tours because they're not cheap, can come to Japan. If you're a YouTuber with a big following, you can come to Japan. Like, I'd be kind of pissed off right now, honestly. If you have connections inside of Japan, you can come to Japan. It's all elitist garbage. To me, look, just open the damn country up. This seventh wave is the hindrance right now. This is the thing that's really causing things to slow down. There's three things right now why we're not getting any news about the reopening. One, it's a summer holiday in Japan. Obon just finished, so the politicians are gone, people are gone, the mindset is on vacation. There's domestic tourism going on like crazy. The Japanese domestic tourism industry is back. I was out there last week. I saw the airport. I saw the Shinkansen. I saw the stations. I saw the destinations. People were out. They're not worried about COVID. COVID is not an issue anymore in Japan. Right now, COVID, this is the worst place to be in the world for infections, mainly because they're testing more. People who get sick still get tested, and in the United States, they don't get tested anymore. If you're sick, you're sick. Just stay home. So there's that, and if COVID is not an issue anymore for domestic tourism, and it's not because this is the worst that it's been, and the tourism is at the highest level it's been in 3 years since 2019. I can't see why foreign tourism wouldn't open up in October. The other thing is, so you have the seventh wave, you have summer vacation right now, and you have the news that the new vaccine for Omicron variant will be issued at the end of September, beginning of October to the medical field, early responders, and then that'll roll out to everybody by the end of October, they said. So there's really no more excuse not to open up the country anymore, because the writing is on the wall with the domestic tourism. So I think that March 2023 is going to be fine. And this is a long answer because this is one probably everybody is thinking right now. I think March 2023 is going to be fine. I think October is going to be fine for another set of people. I don't know who. It could be just a regional thing. Australians, Hawaiians, I don't know. But I just feel there's no more reason to keep doing these package tourisms, even for the government. The public is going to be more wanting to improve the economy. The public who's traveling right now to foreign countries, they're going to hear it from those countries and saying, what the heck's happening with Japan? Why can't we go there? Why can you travel to our country and we can't travel to your country? You're going to bring back what we have. Why can't we just come to your country? Because it honestly makes no sense whatsoever. Japanese that are traveling abroad right now are going to end up getting what those tourists that would be coming here would be bringing anyways. Monkeypox, that's not even an issue. There's tons of tourists going into America right now, probably going to be brought in by the Japanese tourists returning. So there's a lot of pessimistic people, and obviously that is warranted because this is dragging on. But just all signs lead to October, and I would say by spring of 2023, I don't see why there would be any more hurdles. Having 2 shots is no longer a thing. You need like 3 or 4 or 5. It's just going to become like the common flu. We all know this. So, yeah. John, the lack of reciprocity is what's annoying everyone. Is a workmate's Japanese aunt is currently here in Brisbane without any problem. Look, I don't know what other countries should do. Maybe they should ban Japanese from entering. I'm being somewhat serious. Why the heck would Japan continuously be so difficult and everyone else is open? Granted, Brisbane is getting those tourist dollars. Hopefully that person will spend some money and help the economy. That's essentially, a great thing and benefit of having tourists come to visit. Japanese money from Japan is flowing outbound. Nothing's coming inbound. So I mean, it's hard to say okay, Japanese don't come because they're bringing their money with them. Unless they're all on Japanese tour programs and all the money somehow is being kept in Japan, they find a way to do that. Asian countries in particular, but that's been my experience traveling in Vietnam and other countries. The tour group thing is big, right? And usually it keeps the money in Japanese tour companies. Maybe that's something that they asked for. I don't know. But Brazil and South America has the biggest, are you going to do that to us? We're going to do that to you immigration policy. As an American, I had to pay, I think it was $100 to go into Chile, and every other country was free because America charged Chileans $100, or Brazilians was charged $300 to get a visa to go to the U.S. So Brazil charged Americans $300. Or you could take a taxi from Argentina and go across the border and just wave, and they would wave back at you. I didn't do that.
John?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. Yourself?
I'm trying to answer one question in a long roundabout.
There is also somebody writing in on our fireside chat. If you want to answer that. So Inu Liger has posted on our chat saying, what are your thoughts on people who accuse the Japanese government of using xenophobia as some sort of a secret reason to continue keeping tourists out of Japan under the official COVID-related reasons?
Secret. I don't really listen to that kind of stuff. Unless there's some sort of proof. I don't think that there's I don't think that there's any. Look, these people are going to other countries, right? I think there might be a select few people that are very xenophobic. Japan is an island, after all. Throughout its history, it's been pretty much xenophobic. But we have a generation on its way out and a new generation coming in. The generation in power is a generation all in their 80s, pretty much. You could see that by the leaders that keep getting reelected. They're the older generations. They're more but it's so hard for me to say that would be an issue, because during the occupation, and a lot of them were around. They're in their 80s. The U.S. was really good to Japan. I just don't see how. I don't see that. I don't know what the reasons are, other than it's just you have to look at what the population is for, and an island population. Even the islands within Japan, Ogasawara is an island that's part of Tokyo, and they don't really want domestic citizens going there during the first 2 years because they bring crap with them to the island, and the islands over there were perfect, so they didn't have any COVID over there, so they didn't want it, and they don't have any hospitals anyways, so they didn't want domestic Japanese tourists going to a Japanese island, right? Islanders are always like this, so I mean, I don't think that that's an issue, but I know it could be with some politicians, but quite frankly, I think this Omicron, things were going in the right direction in October of 2021 until Omicron hit, and then everything changed and that fear came up. I think it's more of a fear of the virus than it is a fear of foreigners, okay? It's just a fear of people getting sick, and right now everybody's getting sick. All right, so it doesn't matter anymore. So let's just put it like this: if we don't hear the next step in September, all right, someone's going to have to explain why they're still not opening up the country by that time. I can understand August right now. I can understand why they're not making an announcement. It's just the summer holidays. There's not a lot going on here. The election's just finished. Kishida won. He has a new cabinet. They're doing stuff. I'm sure that this is one of the things that they're discussing. In September, if they don't announce a next step, which I think is going to be this e-visa thing for certain nationalities, then I think there's a more legitimate xenophobic some Japanese just hate foreigners point of view, because there's zero reason why tourism should be closed. If Korea is taking people, even if Hong Kong, Singapore, other countries are taking people, and you quarantine, or they have a process, there's no reason there should be a blanket no tourists unless you're on this tour thing anymore. In June, when this started, this was supposed to be a test program to kind of understand how foreign tourisms will, I guess, work with Japan like to make sure that, because Japan has its own way of doing things, the society here has its own way of working, wearing masks on public transportations. We don't have anti-maskers. We have a few, but it's not the same. So I don't know. But I do know that if we don't get an answer to the next step, either at the end of August or sometime in September, then there is some heavier underlying issue. But right now, it is valid that in the summertime you're not going to see anything really happening in August, at least not until the end of the month. Thanks for that question in our fireside chat. Is anybody here in our audience on Discord? If you have a question, you want to ask it live, we can hear you through the speaker. Let me know. Raise your hand. Just make sure your audio is off on the YouTube channel and you're listening only to the Discord channel. It's because you're getting an echo and that annoys me too. All right, just raise your hand and the moderators will bring us in. I guess we get a few people there. Try to keep it on travel and nothing on me personally, like what's with the man boobs and why is your hair so gray? Probably from lack of exercise and the fact that I'm just older. Anybody?
Hello.
Hello. Is this Rakereru? Can you read it? Rakureru. Rakureru.
Yes, yes.
You have a question?
My keyboard so... Oh, so sorry. My boss.
Okay, well, why don't you think about it, and when you're ready, you can ask a question. Do you have a question, or do you want to think about it?
Oh. 日本語で話していいかなちょっと。
まあ、視聴者は日本語話せないから、英語の方がいいけど。Why don't you think about it, and let's go to Patrick here. Patrick, could you...
Okay, test, okay. So, the question is that, do they always going to like, always delaying the lockdown stuff and like, how should I say that, let it be easier for the tourists to apply to come to Japan. They're long like no, they don't require the visas or something like that. You know what I mean, right? Like
I think so.
Do you have any plans to like have it easier for the tourists?
Have it easy?
Yeah, like
Well, right now it is what it is. I'm not sure what the next stage is going to be because, Prime Minister Kishida on June 10th announced that tourism would restart. That was an awful launch. There were
awful stuff.
There was like 200 tourists that came in June, just a couple of thousand in July. It started to pick up at the end of July. I was at the Skytree filming, and one of the managers that I was promotional managers there said they started to see foreign tour groups. A lot of them are coming from Vietnam, from other Asian countries where the culture of taking tour groups is a lot stronger than Western countries. But, Patrick, it's only going to get easier unless something like Ebola or something comes into Japan. The entire progression of Japan, there's no more state of emergency despite having the worst infection numbers throughout the pandemic as right now. There's no more state of emergencies. They're not doing anything to restrict travel domestically. So it only can get better from here. Is it going to get easier? Japan's way to operate is like this, okay? They react strongly to something. Everything is good until something happens, all right? Then they close it down. whatever it is, they close it down. This
They're,
happened.
they're like being strict, right?
It's not like being
like being
strict.
strict.
That it's just the way that it's worked through history. They just close everything down. When some Japanese guys flew a drone onto the roof of the prime minister's residence, they banned all drones. All right, they thought about it, and it took forever before people would trust that drones don't just fly away. They're controlled by 30 satellites on GPS and can hover. And even when you lose control, you can just push a button and it will control and come back to you. Very rare situations do you lose control of a new DJI drone or another drone now. But they shut down all drones, and it took years before they could bring it back to the same situation that they had before some guy flew a drone under the roof of the prime minister. It's crazy. Now they have geolocking, they have all this other stuff, maps, they warning you, they now announcing things to the police when you fly the drone. So they have all these things in place that make it better, and then they opened it up. But it took forever. This is the same with a lot of other issues. When something bad happens in society, they stop it, they think about it, and with consensus, no one leader, but like a group of people decide now it's time. Maybe one person thinks it's time, but if the other 20 people are not sure, you wait more. You wait more until they're all on board, and then they open up. This is a reason why it takes forever. I gave the example that my first week in Japan, I remember opening up a bank account at Tokai Bank in Okazaki near Nagoya. There was another foreigner in there closing his bank account, and it took 3 hours or so. And the reason why is he had to get every single bank manager to stamp the closing of the account, and he got so frustrated. He just wanted to get his money and go. He was yelling. He slammed the door of the bank on his way out and broke the door, and I think he got arrested. I'm not sure. Everybody in the bank was shocked. But it took forever because they need a consensus. They need everybody to hanko everything back then, and the customer suffers, but it reduces risk, I guess, fraud or whatever. I don't know. We have the same kind of thing here. So will they make it easier? Yes. Will it take time more than any other country in the world? Yes. Nothing is fast in Japan. Nothing. Except maybe the TSA getting onto the flight is faster, way faster than America. But when it comes to policy decisions, it's super slow. And the longer you live here, the longer you realize it's not going to go the speed that it goes in your country. It never does. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't help to get frustrated about it. So Patrick, the answer is yes and no. It's not going to happen as quick as we want it, but it will happen. Is that good? Thank you. I'll bring back that other questioner, but yeah, if you can ask your question, because there's hundreds of people watching. We want to have a question. It might help you if you ask your question, write it out in English, and our moderators will let you know in the fireside chat. We have a fireside chat you can talk to, and that might help us understand what your question is before you get in here, so we can run through these quickly. I can try really hard to answer them quicker. John, why is your vacation in the U.S. so short? Brits and Ricky. I don't know. I had to get back to work, and so did Kanai. She teaches here in Japan, and her students needed her to be back here, or else they would leave. So we didn't have the luxury of having a 2-month vacation, although we'd love to. We have Nahele. How you doing?
Doing good.
How can we help you today?
So the question is basically around April or May next year, I'm looking at hopefully moving to Japan. I'm a professional cook by trade. What would you probably suggest to make a move like that easier? And I've already done a lot of the research on what I need to do. I've got my passport ready, applying for it. I already know what I need to do with my pets, get them vaccinated, get the rabies shots and all that.
Oh, for you, what pets do you have? Dogs?
2 cats.
2 cats, okay. Yeah, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I just know that there might be some quarantining. Simon and Martina had 2 pets that they traveled back and forth between Korea and Japan, and Canada and Japan, and were able to travel okay with a little bit of quarantining. So that shouldn't be too hard to get through. They might even have a video on it, although know if many people watch that channel anymore for reasons I'm not sure. I think if you've already done the research on it, then you should be fine. I can't think of anything else that might make your trip easier other than for if you're going to be living here for an extended amount of time, some of the things that I found that you might want to bring are clothes that fit you, especially for your feet, because if your feet are over 28 centimeters, or what is that, like 10 and a half, it's very hard to find shoes here.
I have trouble finding shoes in the U.S. So.
Oh, really? Okay, well, there you go. You might definitely want to bring enough shoes here, or at least be able to have them sent to you, which is a lot easier now than it was when I came here in 1998. Yeah, T-shirts and shirts and things like this, that's really hard to find in Japan. The sizes are weird. I'm a medium in the U.S. and I'm an extra large in Japan, but extra large is front, too much front in the middle for me, but the shoulders are fine, so shirts never fit me well here in Japan. T-shirts either. Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm speaking like easier to move, like I'm speaking mainly like finding a job, finding a place to live as a coming into the country.
Oh, so you don't have an employer, is what you're saying?
No, not yet. That's what I'm working on. I'm kind of waiting for my passport to come first before I start doing that, so I actually have that and ready to start doing paperwork.
So you're all the way at the beginning. Well, I would definitely recommend, getting a passport. So hopefully, it's right now. Oh gosh, it's hard for anybody just to come in here. So I'm not even sure how you would get employment. You've been to Japan before?
No.
If you don't have a passport, I was thinking not. Are you sure you want to live here? Why would you want to live here if you've never been here before?
It's there's been the culture. There's been a lot of. I'm not, like I said, I'm a cook by trade, so it's get somewhere new, learn more cooking, more kind of get out there, learn more techniques all over.
Okay. I don't. Getting a work permit here is really hard. The easiest way to do it, I have to be honest, getting into Japan is hard. Staying in Japan is easy. Coming in as an English teacher, do you speak any Japanese at all?
I'm slowly getting there.
Yes, you have a lot of things against you because no one is going to hire you if you can't speak any Japanese like well enough. No one will even take you under as an apprentice unless you can speak Japanese, or they can somehow speak English very well. I don't know if anybody would hire you even as an apprentice, because the only advice I have to you, there's two routes that you can take. One of them is to come in with a skill that you have that Japanese would need, which is to teach English at first. You don't have to be an English teacher forever. In fact, you don't have to be an English teacher at all. Who knows? Some teachers come here with the visa and they just quit, and then once you have that work visa, you pretty much can do whatever you want. Although I wouldn't say that that's the legal way to do it. But people are people, life is life, and sometimes you just hate your job. I kind of like the job, so I didn't mind doing it for 7 years, teaching kids. But the one skill that you do have is you have cooking, and then you have your ability to speak English. So if you have a 4-year college degree, it's very easy to get an English teaching job here as an entry point into Japan. And after that first year, if you can complete it and you learn the language here through immersive, it's going to take you that much amount of time. It's a lot easier for you to find a job then. But I right now there must be 1 million or 2 million people that are thinking just like you, that want to come here and live here without any Japanese skills, and it's an impossible task. There'll be some companies that you might that might say that they can help you, but they'll just take your money. I had a guy from India that lost, I don't know, thousands of dollars trusting into a company that would teach him Japanese and give him a work visa, and then when he got here, he got on the plane and arrived. The immigration took him to the side and deported him. Like, I was like, what? So I couldn't believe that story. But he had like documents and stuff. It's like, wow, that's absolutely insane. The first route is to come in through as an English teacher, learn the language, and then start to build connections, and then you can find a job and then continue your work visa, which is a lot easier than initially getting it. Again, getting the work visa to start off with is super hard. So if you can find somebody to give it to you, a COE, a certificate of eligibility, and you can get a work visa, then you'll be set up, and you can renew that visa as long as you want if it's in the context of international services. So if you're cooking international cuisine, you can pretty much make that anything you want, and extend that visa is a lot easier. Or you can come here as a tourist, but you need Japanese skill, and you can go to restaurant owners and masters of a trade. For example, a soba master, and there's lots of them around the country, and you can beg him, which is what the Japanese do, to teach you how to do it. And if they're generous, they'll sponsor your work visa to work at their restaurant, probably at a very bad wage, but you will learn the trade as an apprentice. And at the end of a certain amount of time, you will be given your freedom to go and do whatever you want, which is hopefully go out there and become a soba chef, taught under the tutelage of a famous soba master. I've known foreigners that have come in here and gotten that kind of thing with swordsmiths and like very specialized jobs where there aren't enough Japanese who want to fill the gaps of a trade in Japan that is going under, where they need people from abroad to take over. There's possibilities getting work visas as a tourist. You have to go back to your country though and do the process like everybody else, or even go to Korea and do it from nearby. Those are the only two routes that I think you have, but you can't just move here without a work visa. They will eventually, whether you're riding a bicycle and the police pull you over and they'll check and then start asking you questions. There's just so many places where this could go wrong. So yeah, those would be the two avenues. I hope that answers the question. It's not, if you're thinking about moving here without a work visa, it's really hard. For some nationalities, you can get a holiday work visa until age 30, I believe. You would want to take advantage of that. But my first advice to everybody is I think you should come here first and make a decision if you want to live here. And I'm telling you right now, it isn't exactly what you think it is. Living here and trying to become a part of Japanese society is really hard. Because again, for the same reason that we see that the country is closed to tourism, it can be really frustrated. Everyday life is like this, all right? There are roadblocks in everyday life. It's crazy. But if that's your dream to do it, you will find a way to do it, all right? There's a lot of people that have finally done it, but it's not easy. Milk Tea, how you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Kanai and Leo are out of the house. Can't complain.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of your hitchhiking stuff from back in the day.
Yeah,
I know
thank you.
You recently did it again, but you had done it 10 years ago. And I'd heard you talking about it on some live streams, and I watched it all. And I said to myself, all right, I'm going to go hitchhiking. I had no money. I just went around Japan for 10 to 12 days from Tokyo to Kagoshima. Slept anywhere, literally anywhere. And ever since, I've been doing it. And I'm just curious about some of the weirdest spots that you've been sleeping. So I was always amazed when I'd see you sleeping in a park. But it was really inspiring. A weird type of inspiring, but I love it, man.
Thanks for the question. Thanks so much for that. Japan is one of the safest countries in the world, if not the safest. And Joshua, I see the question that you have here. Joshua writes in, "I'll remain patient and wait for Japan to open to individual tourists." Thank you, Joshua. Thanks for the beer. I slept in some weird spots because Japan is such a safe country. We can do that, and that's awesome. When I was hitchhiking, a lot of people were shocked that I would just sleep in the park. But there's an unwritten rule that if you camp somewhere, if you set up your tent in the evening at night and you leave at sunrise, you're not harming anybody. There's an unwritten rule that you can do stuff like this unless there's a sign that says no camping. The police won't bother you. Nobody will bother you. There's always a risk that it could be dangerous as well. You have to make sure you're in a neighborhood, that there's not a lot of drunk people. People get drunk, and there is crime in Japan. Don't get me wrong. Japan's a very safe place, but there's crime here. So I think hitchhiking has its risk, despite the fact that we both did that. But it's an awesome thing. I've just slept out under the stars. I've slept mostly the interchanges have been the weirdest places to sleep. But what was weird though is that you pitch your tent outside of a highway interchange, okay? And you can walk into town, which is maybe about a 15-minute walk sometimes, and there's a public bath where you can take a bath. There's a restaurant, there's a vending machine, there's a convenience store. So despite camping out in the middle of nowhere, I was able to like take a bath and be comfortable. And the next day I didn't stink, and somebody picked me up and was able to get to my place. It's just so convenient the way it's set up. So if you can understand the system, you can understand that you can take a bath everywhere. You don't really need to get a room if you're happy with just a tent. I've slept on just cardboard, where it's like, I'm not going to set up my tent today. Just the weather was really nice, and it works out okay. You can just have a sleeping bag. But having a tent is always a good idea if you're doing something like hitchhiking. I've slept in weird accommodations as well. I've had people, when I was hitchhiking, they felt bad and offered to me to stay at their house, perfect strangers. And at first, my Western brain is like ringing a red siren saying, no, dangerous, you don't know this person. And my other brain saying, it's Japan, it's safe, people are being friendly. It's hard for me to gauge what is the right situation to do when someone invites you to their house that you just met them. But if you can get a chance to get to know them on the drive there, you can try to make the best decision that you can make, and you can say yes or no. You have to have, whenever you hitchhike, you have to have the guts not only to get in the car, but you have to have the guts to say no to somebody if you feel uncomfortable about taking a ride, because it's hard to say no to people that are trying to be nice to you. It really is. And so hitchhiking in Japan is one of the great things that I think if you discover to do it, you probably do it more and more and continue to do it throughout your life, because it's an amazing thing. You put people in a position that pick you up to be your friend. Whereas in Japan, it's very hard to make friends, just talking to strangers. But when you're out there hitchhiking, the strangers that pick you up are the strangers that wanted to talk to you. They're the ones that are interested in communicating with you. So you're meeting the right people. So making friends, it's like the perfect way to do that. Just make a cardboard sign, and the people that want to talk to you come to you instead of you going to them and freaking out a bunch of people. But yeah, hitchhiking is something I might do it again. I did it in 2003 from Wakkanai to Kagoshima, and then I did it again from Kagoshima to Wakkanai following the cherry blossoms in 2017. I have a DVD if you want to buy it. It's on the Only in Japan merch store. I think we got 100 or 200 copies left of it, which is pretty significant, and that lays it out for you. And I have a couple of episodes on the internet for it too. Thanks for the question. Thanks for watching that. Pokemon Master, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. So my question requires a bit of context, so I'll just share that with you.
Sure.
I have now purchased airline tickets to Japan twice and refunded them so far. So once I purchased them in March of 2020 when COVID just hit, and I did not know lockdown was going to be a thing. And then I did it in May of 2022, hoping that by October it would open up. But since the signs seem wary, I had to, cancel those tickets. But the perseverance in me, still, and being a data scientist by profession, I have created this entire dashboard in Excel with a complete route planned and cost-optimized train stations written down to the exact timing. Because I know the Japanese people are very nerdy about this, and they would probably appreciate it if I apply for a visa. My question to you is, if the only mode of entry these days is on package tours, can package tour companies sort of create custom tours for people? So, for example, I can submit my tour to a package company and they can try and get it authorized so that I may travel the route I intentionally wanted, but it would be as a group tour.
That's a great question. I've been getting a lot of feedback. First of all, thanks for that, and I want to see this. I want to see this itinerary, everything laid out in a nerdy way. But I think you can totally. Right now, I'm getting comments from people that have taken the tours. I'm getting email, mostly through Instagram, from people that were on the tour or taking the tour. Some of the people are saying that depending on the tour company, you can extend your visa and extend your stay following the tour package and have the freedom that you want. Just you have to first take the tour, which if you're coming to Japan for the first time, probably is not a bad idea. Just take the shortest tour, work it out with the tour company, and say, look, I want to stay on for another 2 weeks and travel on my own. Is that possible? Quite often, well, I don't want to say quite often, but some of the tour groups are saying yes to that, understanding that not a lot of people want to travel like that. I don't know. I think right now my indication, I would check the MOFA site, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They're continuously updating that, and the criteria for what is a tour group, I can't even place this either. It seems like it would make a lot of sense as long as, all right, for somebody to be a guide in Japan, they need to be a registered guide. They need to take the JNTO, Japan National Tourism Organization Guides Test in English. I know because I had to, many years ago, I was one of the chief examiners for this test, and I saw dozens of candidates come in, and some of them were not qualified. You could tell right away they couldn't speak English at all, and some of them could speak English but just had weird personalities. It was very interesting to see who applied for guides, but in order to become an accredited guide, you had to go through JNTO. So there's a cost and time for them to do this, and not a lot of people can pass that either. So you need like somebody who is a registered guide, I believe, and I believe the government has government-backed. You have to be registered with the government to be a tourism organization or something to be able to give these kinds of tours right now. And then I think that person, like maybe I could do it. I don't know. And then you would have to register that with the government, and then you can offer the package tours. And then I would be responsible if I was in this program for your actions. Because as I said over a year ago, I said that the step when they open up tourism will be through package tours. I said this, and it was because the government very much always looks for accountability from somebody else, and they can't hold individual tourists accountable. It's just really hard. So the next step would be to hold a company responsible for the actions of individual tourists, and that is what you're seeing today. And when if this works out well, they go to the next step, which is I don't know what. But I think if you can find an accredited tour group or an accredited tour guide that has registered with the government that can make a customized itinerary for you, I say go for it. I don't know how you would even search this online though, because nobody to date has made a database yet for this nerdy thing, which would be to put everybody who's a government accredited tourism office for you to be able to take tours. Somebody should do that, and then we would know. But I got a feeling like if you can find the right person, you could probably set up this tour. And for these tour companies that are large government tour groups like JTB and HIS, if you have enough cash, anything is possible. They could probably set up something for you with that. I can't even tell you where to start with this, because for me, I'm not a tourist. I've Googled this a couple of times. All I can say is everybody in the comment section of this video, if you haven't any experience finding tour groups, or if you found a way to customize your own tour, please leave a comment in this video and help Pokemon Master out with his nerdy tour, because that's so awesome that you did all of that work. You definitely should be able to come here. I'm angry that you can't come here. We see more smiling people. LA Rain, what do you think of the vaccination requirements might be for entry? Right now, I think it's... I don't know if there's I don't think there's a vaccination requirement. I just think if you are vaccinated, it's easier. I can tell you about my experience at the end of June. Kanai, Leo, and I, we came back in. Kanai and I are both vaccinated with a booster shot. We had 3 shots. And that green lighted us to go through the process so much faster. We basically sped right through to our luggage in less than 30 minutes. It was so fast. But we had to get our PCR test. We had to show our vaccination proof. We had to do all these hoops to jump through, and it made the experience so much easier. So I don't know what the vaccination requirements will be at the time of opening, but I'm guessing if you're vaccinated, it'll just be easier. And if you're not vaccinated, it'll be harder. That's all but I don't see it's going to be an issue anymore. There's going to be a point where nobody cares about your vaccination status anymore. I kind of figured this out when we started talking about this, because it's not going to, vaccination status isn't something that people are going to care much about if there's a pandemic raging around and the vaccine's not working against Omicron anyways that well. It doesn't really matter so much. I have time for just a couple more questions because Kanai will be back. Yes?
John? So, Uriel Silex over on the Fireside text chat had the following question. He wants to know your views on streamers being able to visit Japan versus normal tourists. Also, which work visa would they likely be using? They say, they say that they were granted work visas to enter, and they're not moving to Japan, just visiting. So, do you follow that? If you want to see it again, it's over on Fireside text.
Yeah, I kind of have. Yeah, I've seen right now. There's some YouTubers here that are visiting Japan that I'm in touch with as well. I haven't been able to talk about the visa status, but yeah, I don't think it's fair. I think it sucks. I think unless they're actually doing some sort of work to promote Japan, that they have no business having access to get in here over somebody else just because they're a streamer or because of that. I'm not being I'm not being against the streamer or the YouTuber or the influencer. I'm just saying, like, it's not fair that, what makes them so different than everybody else. That's what I can't put my finger on. And that would include me if I was on the outside and wanted to come in. But if I were these streamers, I would, of course, try to take advantage of that and try to get in, too. So we can't blame them for that, trying to take advantage of it. It's the government was letting in DJs during the worst of the pandemic. Government allowed in some business people, including a DJ who only quarantined for 72 hours on a special visa that nobody, including the Japanese, could understand. He was a foreigner, and they weren't allowing anybody in.
Really?
So, yeah, these double standards are rife through the process, and it's not just... Look, these double standards aren't limited to just Japan. Every single freaking country out there has these, so it's frustrating to everybody. No matter where you live, you have these, you have racism, you have hatred, you have double standards, you have inequality. It's everywhere. But we saw this in Japan's process, and I can't understand why, now they just don't open it up to everybody. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The only reason I could think of possibly beyond this xenophobia, which we'll figure out if they don't make an announcement in September, maybe we have a better idea. It's just Japan isn't ready for it. When you're closed for this long and services for mass tourism for millions of people is shut down for this long, it takes a long time to restart it. And unless the government puts a date on it and says we're going to restart by this time, I don't even know what they're doing to get set up for this. I'm sure that behind the scenes they're getting set up for this. Go ahead.
Can I have a point about that? Japan is the only G7 country, to my knowledge, that even has these super restrictive things in place. All the other G7 countries have already opened up. So it's utterly ridiculous.
Well, I don't understand what
the one holdout.
I don't understand what G7 has anything to do with anything, though. I see this in the media. Yeah. Japan has never ever done anything. Japan has never done anything because another country does it. They always have always had their own way. Of course, there might be some examples of that, but for the most part, they've always had their own way of doing things, which is usually backwards to the rest of the world. So.
Right, but the thing is, like, the G7 is sort of considered sort of like elite kind of group, right? And it's all about, like, we're talking about, like, the optics, the image here. So it just sort of makes Japan look bad, in that regard. I agree with you. Yeah, they certainly don't do things just because other countries do them or don't do them, But there's just something I just want to throw out there, for some people's consideration. But anyway,
it's a good way to put pressure on them by bringing it up. I can tell you that. You keep putting pressure on.
Yes. Also, I've got a few questions when you're ready, but I'll let you finish what you.
Oh, go ahead. I lost my train of thought. I don't even remember what it's not that important. I'm sure people will ask it again. Go ahead.
By the way, John, it's nice to. It's before I continue, I just want to say it's nice to be able to talk with you directly again for the first time. I think 4 years since we last met at that Starbucks in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
You, me, and Dimitri.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. How's Dimitri doing?
He's doing good. He's doing good. Keeping busy as usual. I mean, we both do, you know. We were just talking, I think, a couple days ago, actually.
Okay, yeah, that was a while. That seems like both yesterday and so long ago to me. We were in Ameyoko near.
I know.
Near right across from Okachimachi
That's
Station.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's
oh my
right.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like, at the end of the month, I will be making my way to the Philippines, and both when I'm going to the Philippines and also coming back from the Philippines, I will be passing through both of Tokyo's airports, like Narita on the way there, Haneda on the way back. So a few questions related to that. So being that I'll be transiting but not being able to leave the airport under any circumstance unless something magically changes, which I doubt. What I want to know, first of all, like, what can I expect as far as what shops and restaurants are open? Because, like, I'll have, like, between 2 to 4 hours layovers, so I'll try and make the most of it. And I understand that there's some shops that are temporarily closed because of, you know, what's been going on. But most particularly where, you know, for me, I just want, first of all, know what kind of restaurants can I expect to be open? And then secondly, what kind of, I guess, touristy shops can I expect to be open? Security side, of course.
I can't really answer that because this is still kind of new. I know that people that were in transit were set aside separately. When we got off the airplane a couple of months ago, or was it 6 weeks ago, from the U.S., we got off the plane first because we were residents. Then there are people in transit. They had to stay on the flight. Okay, so we could.
Are they still?
They're still doing that.
Are they still doing that?
They were still doing that 6 weeks ago. I don't know what it is like now. And then there would be a concierge or somebody who would show these people and take them to their flight. And then I just know when we exited, there were a lot of staff members there to take people going to certain flights to their gate. So I don't know if there's even a chance to go to the restaurants or even to go shopping and stuff, which is stupid because I think they could sell a lot of crap. Right? They sell a lot of Kit Kats.
That was going to be my second question. Because I read something somewhere that supposedly walking around is restricted to even from one end of the terminal to the other. Is that true, or is that just a bit of rubbish that I've read?
I can't. All I can say is from my own
Terminal 1, right? So.
Yeah, from my own experience, I've seen people in transit be able to go shopping or to buy stuff. I don't know what each airport does. I don't know how Kansai does it. I don't know how Narita does it. I've only been through Haneda, and from what I saw, it seemed like they were hoarded together, and they didn't care about your status. You didn't need to be checked because you weren't going to be interacting with anybody that you haven't on your flight. So I think they were trying to make sure you didn't interact with anybody, and thus creating less paperwork for needing to confirm your status, and then you'd be able to interact with people. I don't know exactly. That seems to be, in my mind, what they might have been thinking with this. I don't think this is going to last for much longer, though. I still think that they're going to open up a lot more in October. Maybe not the way we want it to, but your flight to the Philippines is when? Oh, he's off here. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do that exactly soon. But if you have been to Japan recently on business or with family, and you or in transit, leave a comment below, and maybe we can get somebody answer this directly. I did see that there's super chats coming through here real quick, but if I do miss something, I do apologize. I'm trying to shuffle through as much as I can in 30 minutes or less, which is now an hour. So this is the last question on the Discord server. I appreciate everybody on here. Hey John, how is hitchhiking from Tokyo to Hokkaido in autumn and winter? It is in autumn is awesome. It's so beautiful. It's not that hot. You're not sweaty like you are in the summer. Autumn is a wonderful time. It doesn't get cold in Japan until the middle of December, really. So you get pretty fair weather until the middle of December, the end of the year, and then January and February and March are really cold. So winter, I think hitchhiking would be harder. 2 reasons. It's cold. 2, days are shorter. I don't like hitchhiking at night, right? Because I think no one's gonna really want to stop to pick up some stranger at night because you can't see them clearly. So I always hitchhiked from sunrise to sunset, and if I didn't get a ride by dusk, I would just hold up for the night. But winters, I've seen hitchhikers in winter, but usually they're short haul, like getting from Nagano Station. You can get from like Nagano to a resort and not pay the 4,000 yen bus fee by hitchhiking, because there's a lot of people driving there, and some people don't mind having somebody to talk to on the ride there. So something to consider. You dodged my question, Big Pick. Okay, there's something going on behind the scenes. Last question from the Discord server. Abriel, how you doing?
Hello, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this may sound like a little bit of a weird question. I'm actually coming to Japan if the consulate goes through, because I'm waiting for them to give me an appointment to bring them the document that are ready. So they're a little bit slow. But in September I should be able to come to Japan for work. And since I have like appointments back to back and I have to work a lot there, I normally try to protect myself as best as I can from COVID. So besides the mask I normally wear when I'm on public transportation, a face shield. So I was wondering, do you actually see anyone using a face shield with the mask in public transportation in Japan? Or they're going just to look at me like an alien there?
I don't think anyone's gonna look at you as an alien, but I don't see anybody wearing the face shields anymore, except like if they're a police officer or somebody who's working with a mass amount of the people in public. I see them, but for ordinary everyday citizens, the face shield I don't see anymore. When Peter and I came back from Hokkaido, I certainly don't want to get COVID. If I get it, all right, whatever. But I want to try not to get it just like everybody else. So I had on pollen glasses, which looked like goggles, and I had on the best face mask that I could possibly have, because the 2 transmissions. The reason why you wear a face shield is because you could still get it through your eyes. This is something we learned in 2020. So you could wear an N95 mask, but you could still get it in through your eyes somehow. So I just wore the pollen glasses, which I think I might even have them here. And that worked pretty good. Here it is right here. You see they have shields on the top and the bottom, and you don't look too silly. Although Leo thinks they look funny. Not much air gets in through the sides because but it cuts down on it. I don't know if they work at all either. I don't know. You know what? If you feel safer with the face shield, use the face shield. Go with what you feel safer for, because you don't want to get sick when you have something important coming up. But it's also unavoidable. If you get sick, you might just get sick. And I don't know how much the face shield actually helps. It won't reduce it down to 0, but it does reduce it a little bit, your chance of catching it, I'm sure. I hope that answers your question. Again, like, I only see people working in front of department stores or security who are in constant touch with the public, or events, but I see it less and less now. So there you go. I think just because Japanese are pretty much over it. I saw that super chat from the past. Thanks for reminding me in the chat here. I had to scroll back. The super chats go away pretty quick. What are the restrictions on self-defense items like pepper spray? I think pepper spray, I can't really say for sure. I don't know. The best thing for you to do is to check the MOFA website. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a customs site of things that you can bring and cannot bring. So I wouldn't take the word of some YouTuber, although I try very much to research my stuff, but quite frankly, I don't know if it's illegal or not. I know it's illegal to carry a pocket knife in your pocket. It's just crazy. Depending on the length of the pocket knife, you can get in some trouble if they ever searched you. But I mean, nobody gets searched. You have to have a way to wrap your knife. I think a lot of these laws go all the way back to the Meiji era, where they banned samurai swords and stuff in public. So pepper spray, I would say that it's not something you can buy in Japan. I've never seen pepper spray sold in Japan, and I've never met any women or men who had that as part of their self-defense. The best self-defense in Japan is to just stay in your house and not go out at all. That's what most people that are scared of going out or getting in situations. There's not a lot that you can do. A whistle helps a lot. I know a lot of women that have been touched on trains or have been approached in inappropriate ways. They have whistles that they blow. The louder the sound, the more you attract attention, without saying fire, because that's against the law. So yeah, I don't know anything about that. That's a good question. Check the immigrations and customs page, and they're usually fairly clear if you can find it. So you can't bring any type of weapon. Well, what kind of weapon? You know what? I was watching this movie called John Wick, all right? And John freaking Wick used a pencil. Is that a weapon? Anything can be a weapon. These are weapons of peace. It's a dove. So violence is generally lower in Japan than most other places. Yes. James Bond style weapon. He uses his, you could use, or Karate Kid does this. I've seen it in the movies. Because the knuckles go straight through. I don't know. All right? So just do what makes you feel comfortable, I guess. Just put your weapons away. Remember Mr. Bean in the airport with the... No, nobody moved. Yeah, low IQ discussion. What do you get? You answer the questions in a humorous way that you can. Sometimes it's not even funny. Look, folks, I can't say for sure. Thanks everybody on the Discord server for asking this question. I think it's kind of cool. I'll try to do more of these Q&A because I know that as it's just, it is hard for people to plan their trips to come to this country right now. I understand that, like it's just really hard, and I don't know how you can do that at this time with any certainty. So yeah, I think Japan is requiring that you have some sort of medical insurance, because if you do get sick, Japan doesn't want to pay for you. This is like, of course you need insurance. Most of the people asking this question are from the United States, where health insurance is ridiculously cost, and a lot of people don't have any insurance, I believe. But I think you need to have some kind of travel insurance. They might require it even if you have European, health insurance or something. So I'm not sure. But you probably want to have insurance on your trip. If you're traveling for the next 6 months and you're thinking of coming to Japan, you might consider getting travel insurance anyways, because unless you know for sure that your airline is going to refund your money when you can't make it, and there's no airline that should be taking your money and saying to you that if you can't come, we're still going to keep your money. So, I can see American Airlines, the American-based airlines doing that, but I can't see Japan-based airlines doing that. So you might want to have travel insurance. There's another reason to fly the Japanese carriers. They're just so much better. No offense, American, Delta, United, and the other. Just, I don't know. You guys are not great like you used to be. Nickel and diming. American Airlines just bought like 20 hypersonic jets or something, and I think they're nickel and diming people for $50 for a pillow and stuff, and they use that money to buy new jets. It's crazy. You'd never see that in Japan. You'd see it'd be worse. I don't hold Japan at different standards. It's just sort of the fact here. When something small happens in the public domain like this, it's a huge scandal. Prime Minister Abe, before he passed away, was in the middle of a scandal because he had a cherry blossom party and he used $7,000, only $7,000 of public money or something, somehow. And I'm not sure he was even aware of it. I might have gotten some of the details incorrect there, but the smallest indiscretions are huge news here. So I can't see a company getting away with that. Hypersonic, I don't know what the heck they were, but it was crazy to see that American Airlines had the money to do that. But somebody's got to buy them. Hopefully, travel returns in October, and I still think we're going to hear some news in September when things settle down a little bit. But look, guys, I'll do my very best to keep bringing you up-to-date information on this. I know this is something very close to your hearts, as it is mine, because it stinks without tourism. But just yesterday, I can't remember your names. I met two really friendly people visiting from the United States, visiting from Korea. They were American visiting from Korea on business. And it was the most awesome, feeling. I was coming back from Rabbit Island, and two nice people stopped me to say hi as I was just about getting ready to leave to come back to Tokyo. And they were just coming to go to Rabbit Island, and that made me feel so happy. It's been years since I got stopped and somebody saying hi and then talking about their trip. It doesn't happen anymore. So yesterday was really, 2 days ago was really special. I can't wait for you guys can be able to make it back there again, and then we can talk, and people will stop and say hi when I'm in tourist areas. That just makes me feel really good as somebody who does this for a living. And this last few years has really stunk. So yeah, I'll keep you up to date. If you haven't already, check out Twitter. I'm tweeting more the updates when they happen, so I will relay that information to you maybe before it hits Western news outlets. So you might want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I do stories quite a bit on Instagram with the live streams, so you can get in there. Half YouTube memberships are half price right now, I believe, so you could join for 49 yen, which is like 30 cents or something. I don't know. So you might want to do that. And I still got some pretty good postcards. Furano from Nagano, from Hokkaido, if you're interested, on Patreon to help support the travel. Got an episode released really soon on the melon auction. It's almost done. I'm not going anywhere until it's done. So there you go. Have a good day. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks so much for this Q&A. It was fun. Great questions. I hope I was able to answer you in an appropriate way. If not, leave a comment below in the YouTube video, and I will do my best to reply. And if you see a comment that you can reply to, help out and leave a comment. I appreciate it. See you, everybody.